Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Saka here, and welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition for absolute beginners, and we are going over the last 3 races you can choose from today: the Half-Elf, the Half-Orc, and the Tiefling. The Half-Elf is kind of scorned between the human and elf races, as it says in the player's handbook: to a human, a Half-Elf looks elven, and to an elf, a Half-Elf looks human. Much like a human build, a half-elf is between 5 and 6 feet tall and weighs between 120 and 180 pounds. Out of the box, the half-elf gets a +2 to their charisma, as well as choosing 2 more traits to put 1 point into, so that's really good if you're sitting on an odd number and you want to get that next level of modifier. You can choose to put your 1 point in that, so not as powerful as a human with 1+ to everything, but a nice balance. They reach adulthood at the age of 20, but can outlast their human counterparts by living up to 180 years. As far as alignment, the half-elf tends to go towards the chaotic side, chaotic good or chaotic evil. It just depends on their background and how they were raised, so if you choose to play a half-elf, think about where they came from, and would they be on the chaotic good side or the chaotic evil side. Half-elves are classified as a medium creature, and their movement speed is 30, so just like humans and elves, they can move 5 squares during a movement turn. Much like a drow, they have dark vision, so they can see in dim light 60 feet as if it were bright light, and in complete darkness they can see it as if it were dim light. But as before, you can't discern specific color, you only see in shades of gray, so a night vision approach. And also, much like an elf, you have advantage on saving throws against being charmed, meaning you roll 2d20s if someone is casting a charm spell on you, and magic cannot put you to sleep. Unlike the elf, however, you do not have access to a trance, so you will need a full 8 hours rest in order to get back any spell slots and recover hit points. One benefit that we have not seen in any other race, however, is the ability to become proficient in 2 skills of your choice. So that could be any skills that you see here, adding your proficiency bonus at level 1, that is 2. So if you wanted to, do say investigation and perception and be really perceptive, you will get an automatic +2 to that, and then whatever your, in this case, intelligence modifier will be, and your wisdom modifier. So that will, if each one of these were 1, you would increase that by 1, etc., etc. So pretty powerful. They also know 3 languages, both common and elven, of course, and you get to choose 1 other language from the table to learn as well. So a nice scholarly approach. Next, we'll be looking at the Half-Orc, a grisly, stout race for sure, known for their barbarian techniques and just the ability to smash things into tiny pieces. If you want to play a very strong character, the Half-Orc is a good. Right out of the gate, the Half-Orc gets a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution. This means high melee damage and high hit point generation per level, so they are definitely the fighters amongst the races. Half-Orcs mature at 14. They're considered an adult but rarely live over the age of 75. Half-Orcs who are raised by their orc parents don't tend to be good. They tend to drift towards evil, and if they are raised solely by their orc counterparts, they also tend to be chaotic as well. They stand 5 to 6 feet tall, usually very stocky, and are considered a medium class creature. Their speed is also 30 feet, meaning they have 5 squares of movement per movement turn. Like the half-elf and the drow, they have dark vision. As before, you can see in dim light up to 60 feet as if bright light. Complete darkness is dim, and you can't see in color, only in shades of gray. As a half-orc, you also have proficiency in intimidation, meaning you add your proficiency bonus at level 1, that is 2, plus your modifier for your charisma to be an intimidating type creature. To go along with the warrior motif, the Half-Orc has Relentless Endurance, which means if you're reduced to 0 hit points but not killed outright, that means getting more damage than your hit points negative. You can drop to just 1 hit point instead and stay upright. You can't use this again until you finish a long rest, so an 8-hour sleep. So if you're fighting, you get knocked down to 0 hit points, and say you have 18 base hit points. As long as you don't go to negative 18, you can choose to just drop to 1 hit point instead. Stay upright and continue to fight. Continuing on with the warrior motif, you also have the savage attack feature, meaning when you score a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, and that is usually rolling a 20 on a d20. If you are a fighter and you get the perk to have 19 or 20 be a critical hit, that will cover this as well. You roll one of the weapon's damage dice 1 additional time and add it to the extra damage of the critical hit. So essentially you roll your damage 3 times base. So if you have a 1d8 sword, you roll the 1d8, then you roll the 1d8, and then you roll the 1d8 again because of the savage attack, and add that to the critical. As a half-orc, you know 2 languages, Common and Orc. Orc doesn't have their own written language in particular. It is written in Dwarven script. So if someone reads Dwarvish, they could say, no, this isn't Dwarvish. This conjugation doesn't make sense. It could be Orcish, so you can read that just fine. The last race you can choose to play is the Tiefling. They are known for their horns, which come in many different shapes and sizes, and also their tails that are about 5 feet long or so. This variant here is the winged variant. As long as they are cosmetic only and do not grant them the ability to fly, they can be played in Adventurers League and other sanctioned Dungeons and Dragons games. But if you wanted to homebrew and say that these wings actually did do something, feel free. They are known as what is an infernal type creature, and they are slow to trust others, so having a tiefling in your party, you're always wondering if they're trying to stab you in the back or something like that. It's a good dynamic. As a tiefling, your base intelligence goes up by 1 and your charisma goes up by 2, meaning they get an extra point in deception, intimidation, performance, and persuasion. Tieflings age at the same rate as humans, but tend to live a few years longer, possibly up to 120 years of age. Tieflings tend to be on the chaotic side. They don't start out as evil, but their infernal blood tends to lend them that way. They are the same height and weight as the human template, between 5 and 6 feet tall, between 120 to 200 pounds. They are classified as a medium-size race, and their speed is 35 squares per movement turn. Exactly like the other 2 races we have covered today, they also have dark vision. They can see in dim light 60 feet as if it were bright, darkness as if it were dim, and they can only see in shades of gray. You also have hellish resistance, meaning that you have resistance to fire damage. You are not immune, however, so you only take half damage to fire attacks. As a tiefling, you also have Infernal Legacy, meaning right away you know the Thaumaturgy cantrip. That is a minor wonder, sign of supernatural power within range. That is 30 feet, takes concentration up to a minute. You can have your voice boom 3 times as loud as normal, cause flames to flicker, brighten, dim, or change color, harmless tremors in the ground, an instantaneous sound that originates from a point of your choice within range, such as a rumble of thunder, the cry of a raven, or ominous whispers. You instantly cause an unlocked door or window to fly open or slam shut, or alter the appearance of your eyes for 1 minute. If you cast it multiple times, you can have up to 3 of its 1-minute effects active at a time and dismiss as an action. So you can choose from 3 of these type of status changes, meaning you can look pretty intimidating right from the get-go. Once you reach the 3rd level, you can cast Hellish Rebuke once per day as a 2nd level spell. Hellish Rebuke is a 60-foot range, instantaneous duration, which you can take in response in being damaged by a creature within 60 feet that you can see. So it also is a reaction. So unlike a spell that you conjure up and cast on your own, this is if you get hit by someone within 60 feet. Once you get hit, you point your finger and the creature that damaged you is surrounded by flames. The creature must make a dex saving throw. It takes 2d10 fire damage on the fail, half as much on a successful one, and because you're casting it at a second level, says here when you cast using a second level or higher slot, the damage is increased by 1d10 for each slot above 1. So that would become 3d10 fire damage instantly on a creature that hits you within 60 feet. Once you reach the 5th level, you can cast the darkness spell once per day. Charisma is your spell casting ability, and just a reminder, darkness is a 60-foot range, a 15-foot radius sphere, so it is a circle of complete darkness. You cannot see in, and whatever is in it cannot see out. As a tiefling, you have 2 languages, Common and Infernal, so you can speak to other tieflings and other infernal races that you encounter on your travels. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the races of basic D&D 5e. Which race seems the most appealing to you? Think about playstyle, fighting style. Are you going to be a caster? Are you going to be in the back? Are you going to be in the front? And maybe next week's episode will help you determine which race you would like, because we will be going over the classes. So just like the races, each class has their own bonuses, proficiencies, and everything else that can sort of compound and complement the races as they are. So that will do it for me in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week when we start going over the classes. Take care.